So anyway, I'm over there by myself. And so I make a list of things that I'm by myself. My husband and daughter are coming over in the next couple of days, but I have time alone, which I never do. So I made a list of the places in Glasgow that I wanted to go. Now I've gone there on book tour, but I sort of like did an event and then I just kind of left. So saw a little bit of it, but there were certain things I wanted to see. So I started with the cathedrals because I was fascinated by the fact that they had been for Catholic and then no Catholics. You had to be Protestant. So everything flipped to Protestant, and now then it flipped back to Catholic, but not all, it's mostly Protestant. So I started St. Andrew's Cathedral. Now, for those of us in Canton, Ohio, or Chicago, or Philly, or New York, or, our idea of a cathedral is a big building, right? Big, gorgeous, fancy building. House of worship. My particular faith, I'm Roman Catholic. So I know my churches. But when I get there, it wasn't very big for starters, and there was a wedding going on. Well, there's a superstition about if you see a bride on her wedding day, it's good luck. So I thought I'll stay for the wedding, and then something incredibly magical happened. I'm in the back of the church, and I'm basically attending this wedding mass, but I'm not with the guests. There's a glass shield, and then I'm behind it. There's me, the tourist, and the man that played bagpipes. And he's like, he's a bagpiper. He's like, he's waiting for the thing to be over so he can play him out of the church. So I start to participate in the mass behind the shield. And it soon becomes very apparent to me that as the music plays in this wedding mass, that they were the exact same songs that my mother had chosen for her funeral. So of course I began to cry. Stayed through the end, get out on the sidewalk, and I took pictures of her. And it was like, how green was my valley? Her veil was blowing. And then you saw the car come. I mean, it was really beautiful. And there's a wedding in Kathy Lee's script. So I thought, oh, this is good practice. Snapping. It's on my phone right now. All the pictures, I took little videos, vignettes, things. And a man behind me says, "Who are you?" So I turned, and it was the priest that had just done the wedding ceremony. I said, "Oh, Father," I said, "I'm a tourist. I came to see the cathedral, and I'm soon be on my way, And he kind of looked at me like this. He goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Adriana Trigiani." And he said, "You're American?" I said, "Yes, Italian American." He said, "You must visit the garden." Like that wasn't on my list. So I said, okay. And then I turned to say something else to him, and he was gone. It's like one of those things in your life where the bird drops in, leaves the message, and flies out. That's what that was. So I did what he said, and I went around the corner. Well, it's like not really a corner, but it was like a wall, because this building's old, but then the garden kind of had a more modern look there. But there was an old stone wall, I'll give him that. But when I went through the gate, there were shards of glass with ancient aphorisms on them, from Cicero and from the Greeks, and not Catholic. And I thought that's interesting. It's a Catholic garden. What's happening here? There was a little stream trickling in there that was modern. It was a trough. That's a big thing in Europe. They do these in their parks. They have a trough. I want to say it looks like a pipe, half of a pipe with a water run. Give us a real stream, but that's the American way. Anyway, so they have these troughs. So then I thought, well, what is this? I wish the priest was there. I would have asked him, explain what this place is. And so I started to just walk through it, and I started taking pictures. And then I got to this wall, and it had rows of Italian names. So the first thing I do when I see that is I try to find, like, am I related to anybody? And I looked, and then as who are these people? That's what my new novel's about. Well, it's one of the ticking parts of it, but it's what I found on that wall. So I'm telling you this by way of my own experience as an Italian American and a woman. All over the world, there are immigrant communities in every country. And in Scotland, they're called Britallians. And they did the ice cream and the pizzas and the fish and chips. And those are all Italian things that they would peddle and sell. But this event changed the course of the Britallians in Scotland forever. So I wove that into a story that I have been dying to tell. I don't even know how much I should tell you, but it's a woman who knows, even though she appears to be perfectly healthy, she's at the end of her life. And she is not thrilled with the job she's done with her family. And she wants to set things right. Whether she has a lot of years left or no time at all, she wants to set the story straight. I'm a mother, and that's interesting to me. But I'm very on the nose with it. I will say to my daughter, look, I could be dead in 24 hours. So you need to know the following. Oh, I do. Listen, the only thing I didn't follow, you get a lot of advice when you have a baby. When I would put her to bed at night, from the time she was in a crib till now, she's 18. When I would say goodnight to her, I'd just stick my head in the door, after my husband would read the storybooks. Sometimes I did, it just depended. And I'd stick my head in and I go, I love you, Chia. Love you, Mom. I said, remember something. Yes, Mom. We had the same routine for 18 years. Remember, Lucia, I will be a burden. I don't think there's any point in pretending otherwise. Go, be independent. No, I'm going to be a burden. I could just tell. So some people said to me, geez, that's terrible that you say that. And we laugh about it, but look, you give people the worst case scenario, then if it doesn't turn out to be a problem, well, you're fine. But let's pretend I didn't say that and I am a burden, then I would have sold her a different bill of goods, which I think is worse. That sort of sums up my motherhood skills in a nutshell. The other thing I would say to you is I have very firm ideas about things, and I would say things to my friends and they would just go. I have to tell you something. There's a wonderful author named Tom Dyja who has a book coming out in like 2 months called New York, New York, New York. And it's the cultural, historical, emotional, financial history of New York City. And everybody comes and visits, Broadway, the whole thing. You've got to read it. It is brilliant. Anyway, I know him also as a friend. And we were talking about children, and I said, and Lucia was still an infant. And they said, well, how are you going to handle certain things? Like, let's say, for example, she wants to smoke cigarettes. I said I would take that child who was smoking by the hand, and I would take her over to the Bellevue Hospital where they have the ward, or if the people don't have voice boxes. And my friend Tom said, you're insane, and that's a terrible childhood. But that's what I think of things, okay? I think like in absolutes, which is important when you're writing a novel. when your story comes to you, you have to own that story. You have to shape it. You have to, at every turn, know exactly what's going to happen. Once you've written it, of course. Sometimes when you're writing it, you're not sure and you kind of go with the muses, which is fine. I outline. But my point is, you got to have a point of view so that your characters are specific. Is there anything worse than picking up a novel and everybody sounds alike? I think that's the worst. So what goes into that is a specificity and a point of view, and an idea of the story. This story is this. This is how I'm going to tell this particular story. How does that fold into what I'm telling you about being a mother? To me, it's everything. It's like, well, that's what I believe. Now, I can argue all the other ways of being. Maybe I'm not choosing mine for the character. You can't really do that. They've got to have their own interior life, just like every person you know and love, which is, to me, where the hard work is. But pick a side. Pick something. You know, somebody said something to me the other day, and I thought this was interesting. They said, well, you write, oh no, I'll tell you who said it, because I got to give credit where credit is due. I had a Facebook Live, which you should be watching every Tuesday at 6. We're hooking you up with the library. We're going to get together. But I had an author on named Christopher Pavone, and he's a wonderful thriller writer, and he writes other things too, but he's masterful. And so I guess as a favor, I mean, this is not a requirement, he decided to read Tony's Wife, you know, just to get to know me before he came on the show. And so he said, I read your book. And I said, oh. I said, did you like it? He said, I did. I did. He said, you know, you write working people. Most books and shows and movies are about rich people. Then I started to think about it. Think about like Bridgerton. That's royalty. You know, people like that. Maybe it's aspirational. Or maybe it's just, oh, okay, listen, I've had enough with the hard work and now I'm going to relax. I want to watch the people that, you know, have good purses. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But I'm not interested in that. I thought I was at the beginning of my career, and I was really smacked down by my mentor and teacher when I moved to New York, a woman named Ruth Getz, who was a playwright with her husband Augustus Getz, and they wrote The Heiress. And when I met her, I was 21 and she was in her 70s. But she was the most energetic, spry, incredibly gifted, opinionated, knowledgeable, self-taught, self-aware individual I'd ever met. And she said these words to me because she read my plays before she would take me on. And she said, I'm gonna tell you something. You have the voice of the working person. So forget all this other stuff. And I remember when I was going home on the subway, I just sat there and cried because I was like, oh, I got to write about the, then I like, oh, I don't get to write fancy stuff. I mean, you can imagine that too. But she was right. So it's my honor to write about, you know, the glass maker at the Ford factory, at the River Rouge plant outside Detroit, or to write about the shoemaker that is Valentine Roncalli, who learned it from her grandmother and she learned it from her husband. And then develop a series where you find out that there's a brother and had a falling out and he moved to South America, Argentina. I mean, this is the stuff I love. the interior decorator who can make anything on his own, who wants to see beauty in the world. The seamstress. And I could keep going. The grocer, you know, you look at the books, they have it all, right? Farmers, and people of the earth. Because I'm interested in, as an artist, how we make things, whether it's a car, a dress, a suit, a cake. I don't care what it is. I'm interested in how something is created. So two things really, love and work. Love is the table that we all come from, for good or for ill. And work is how we survive by the labor of our own hands, whatever that is, whatever it is. My books are aspirational about how you own your own life and create the things that you're supposed to be creating, because that will get you. If you're not doing the thing with your life you're supposed to be doing, it's a slog. And if anybody wants to do a show of hands, we can do that. Any artist will tell you, because they've had to do other jobs to sustain themselves, that we understand that. We understand it. But we're supposed to be doing what we're supposed to be doing. So before Dolores comes on, I want to say this, that I have a great deal of love and affection for everybody within the sound of my voice, because you're readers. My mother was a librarian. Talk about sacrosanct. Books are sacrosanct. Somebody poured themselves into that to write it. Somebody did that. And then probably the most powerful thing my mother ever said was, the answer to every problem in life is in the library. That's pretty profound. That there's a place that we can go to seek the truth, to find out the facts, to build the story. And the power of the place of the library, the community center, the place where you're comfortable taking your kids, the place where you go on a date. That's what it's all about. The circle of that. And now I believe Vicky is back.
Yes.
I don't know. Dolores is running us technically, right, Vicky?
Yes, she is. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I especially want to thank you, as usual. You're amazing. If anyone has any questions right now, you can type it in the Q&A, or you can type it in the chat, and Adriana will answer those for you right now.
Anything.
Anything you want to know. The Q&A is at the bottom of the screen, and the chat is there also if you don't know where those are. You just push on it.
I see. Do you have a title for your new book? You know what I do? It has not been approved yet, but I think it will be. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
The Good Left Undone. The Good Left Undone. I love it. I called it the Garden of Sundays for a long time, but I didn't like that. Eventually, it wasn't right.
I have a couple questions. Beth wants to know when your new book will be out.
Okay. Early next year. It's what they call, oh, you like it? Good. Thank you. Yeah, early next year, because we're going to do a very long runway with it because I'm kind of relaunching.
And then someone wants to know your favorite dessert.
You know, I was just dreaming of this last night. My mother's chocolate cake with like a white buttercream icing. But
Sounds
you know,
really good.
listen, can I can give you a few more profiteroles. How can you go wrong with those? They're so good. That kind of thing.
Someone wants to know, do you live in Italy?
No, I live in Greenwich Village, but funny you should say it. I'm going to spend a lot of time
Is this
there.
a secret?
What's that?
Is this a secret?
Well, it's not a secret.
telling us?
I mean, Greenwich Village isn't a secret, but I have to, you know, I haven't really cleared it with my husband yet. So I hate to say it, and then, you know, he sees it and he goes, really, when were you going to tell me? But I'm very interested in doing that.
Someone says, do you ever feel overwhelmed by the process of writing, or has it always come easily to you?
Oh, it's not that it's ever easy, but it is natural. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have to do it every day. I'm a 7-day-a-week writer, and I learned when my child was little and stuff like, oh, you know, you figure it out. They're sleeping, you work, you know, that stuff. And I still get up very early because I need a lot of time by myself for whatever reason. Maybe I'm a little thick, but I really do. I can't just move with the fish. I have to be, and you know what I love more than anything else when it snowed like this, and all I had to do was sit and work.
Somebody, Jesse wants to know the name of your movie. Is it on Netflix? And how many children do you have?
I have one daughter, Lucia, and one husband, and I recommend only having one. What was the other part of the question?
The name of your movie, and is it on Netflix?
There's, okay, Big Stone Gap, which I wrote and directed, starring my beloved Patrick Wilson, Ashley Judd, Anthony LaPaglia, Whoopi Goldberg. I could keep going. Jenna Elfman, Paul Wilson, keep going. Jane Krakowski, Jasmine Guy, Judy Ivey, Erica Coleman. Okay. You can watch that anytime on Netflix. It's also evidently on Amazon. I really don't understand this part of it, but you can see it anytime. Then Came You with Kathy Lee. It's about to go on sale. Watch it when it's on sale. You'll love it. And that you can find on Amazon Prime, Apple iTunes. It is across all platforms. It's not on Netflix, but it's across all the others. Then Came You. Video on demand, they call it, which, by the way, I'm in love with that. So that's it. Do I have another? Oh, Very Valentine. You can tape it on, just set your DVR. And it gets tricky. It's called Adriana Trigiani's Very Valentine because, oh, Mark took my title and confused everybody. It's all right, Hallmark. I don't care. Listen, do whatever you want to do. But it's a little tricky with Lifetime. You have to find it under my name.
Someone said, I'm so happy that you are back speaking in Canton. I was at the SIPO talk a few years back. I promised you I'd have dinner for you when you came back. That still holds.
I will be back. I will have dinner, and I will come to the library. How about that?
There you go. And then someone wants to know, when you write, do you write your novels as character-driven or plot-driven? I always find this very interesting.
Well, the best characters in the world need a plot. So I think it's both. I mean, I gotta have to know what's happening here. Now, my next novel, it's such a seismic thing that happens but it's what happens to the woman and the man, and oh, it's just incredible. When you get both of them cooking, it's really great. But most of us begin with character. Most of us do. You know, we don't begin with Holland. We begin with, you know, little Kim in Holland, you know.
Anyone else have a question? Oh, and by the way, the person that invited you to dinner said you're on. So I think that dinner is still going to go.
Can't wait. Isn't it funny? I'm probably the only author you ever meet. I'm coming for dinner, and I mean it.
Yep. I don't know if we have any more questions. Anybody else? Going once? You told them, okay, I want to make sure you told them everything they need to know. You told them about your Adriana Inc. every Tuesday at 6 o'clock on Facebook.
Vicki, I find it crazy you didn't know about it.
I didn't. I'm so sorry. And I follow you on Facebook.
But you know, here's the thing. Well, listen, first of all, I don't understand how they operate there because you don't get all the announcements. So that's why you have to like it and join it onto the page, because then I can communicate with you. Oh,
here's the new one.
We found a new one.
Can you see that one? How has it been in New York City with the pandemic? Has it been surreal?
You know, I've got to tell you, I guess some people, maybe 2 or 3 around the country, were like talking a little smack about New York City, which I know is terrible. People here, we're just like you, we're really working. So, okay, I'll tell you the 2 things that have jumped out at me about this. One, there's a lot less people. There, my office, this used to be my daughter's room, but my office is at the bottom of this old house in a neighborhood that turned into a nice neighborhood, but it wasn't originally. And I used to have to wash those windows out there just from the, you know, from the car stuff. It's not even a really big, well-traveled road, but it's just New York City. There's a lot of cars here. Well, since this started, that's the physical part of it. So it's not, you know, we're not kicking up the dust we normally do. You have to really take a leap of faith to sit outside in freezing temperatures with a heat lamp here and eat dinner. But you want to do it to support the restaurants, because we love our restaurants. We love our restaurant people need jobs. But they're building cocoons and little houses and things for us to eat in, to keep the businesses going till this is over. The biggest emotional shift that I have noticed, first of all, you know, theater, and there's no theater. Even if I didn't go, I like to know it was there. There's an energy. You come to town, you go to the theater, the actors go to the theater, the crews go to the theater, and it's an energy. It's like a force field. And without it, it's very sad.
We have a couple more questions and a comment. So I'm going to go with the comment first, then we'll do the questions. Thank you for your books. They are loved. All Italian Americans definitely relate, and that is true.
Thank you.
Somebody wants you to tell us about your family and growing up.
Well,
I don't know how much time we have.
I don't know how much time we have, but okay. I grew up in a town called Big Stone Gap, Virginia. And my dad was a garment manufacturer who moved our family to Big Stone Gap from near his parents in Pennsylvania because of he got a very low interest loan, like the loans are now, to put up a mill because in Southwest Virginia, in Appalachia, they needed jobs. My dad was 33 and he had 7 children under the age of 10 with my mom. My mother, who was a librarian, raised the family. And she really worked a lot with my dad, truth be told. 7 of us, 5 girls, 2 boys. When I come back, I will do the entire routine on the family. If I do it here where it's getting taped, I'll get killed. But we are kind of like an octopus, even when we're mad at each other. We have a great love for each other, one another. The boys are kind of their own island, except I would say, like my brother Michael wrote and performed music on the soundtrack of Big Stone Gap. He's very talented. My brother played Ashley Judd's young father in the movie. My sisters are really great. They're all very different and yet similar in certain ways. I have one, my brother has 2 children and my sister has 4, which means we 7 have 7 kids. It was fun. I wrote a children's book about our Valentine's Days, which is coming out next year, which I'm thrilled about because it's my homage to my mom. You know what I remember? Why don't I just give you one memory and that'll tell you the whole story of my family. I'm in love with Big Stone Gap. And Big Stone Gap was a small town, but to me, it was like a movie. And I would walk home after school with my friend Kay. And if you haven't been to Appalachia, if you haven't been to that part of the world that Dolly Parton writes so beautifully about, Lee Smith, now I'm going to get in trouble again, Reynolds Price, Silas House, Barbara Kingsolver, who lives there now. If you haven't been there, you must go because it's a sensual experience. You can breathe there. It's beautiful. It looks like a pop-up book. There's the river. I mean, it's just like, and the town itself, which I felt was very enchanted, and the characters in it, which is why I wrote 4 books about them because I love them. But after school, we would take our time walking home. And for whatever reason, my friend Kay, we could sit and talk. Well, we could have won marathons talking. And she lived near the ballpark, which was down the hill from where we lived. We lived around the corner from a museum in an old house. And my favorite memory that I will probably think of on the day I die is the sun's going down and Kay goes her way and I go mine. And I walk along the road, the street. There's no sidewalks, but there's a street. And instead of going in the front door, I go in the back towards the kitchen. And what I see as the sun's going down, let's choose autumn because it's the most incredible time in the mountains, is I see my mother in the window and she's pouring the pasta into the colander and she's shaking it. We never rinse our pasta. She's shaking the water of it out. And I see my mom. And then my mom goes away in the steam. And then I come in the house and I sit down for the most delicious meal that you can imagine. Spaghetti, meatballs, salad. My mother always had a tablecloth and the candles lit. She did her best to teach us to add proper everything. My dad too. But that's the memory that defines my growing up to me.
We are going to take this last question. I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. And anytime you want to talk to us, we will gladly listen. The last question we have for the night is, did you have a lot of rejection before you sold your first book?
Yes. Not so, okay. I'm let me just listen. It's part of it. And it's horrible. But I find it funny now. And it wasn't rejection of the books because I had a long career as a writer, longish, 10 years, whatever it was. It was 10. It was exactly 10. Every 10 years I reinvent, which is why I'm reinventing right now. You have to decide. This is real. I'm being very serious here. You have to decide that what you're writing about matters. That the story you're going to tell is important. And then all you have to do is picture one person and you're telling them the story and you write that story down. I'm trying to think what good comes from it. There's two kinds of people in the world. People that are fueled by fear and negativity, which, by the way, a lot of successful people are. And then there's the people that are fueled by the desire to be accepted and loved. Now we have both in us. And you almost have to get to a place where you can get in the middle of that. Because deadlines provide fear, and there's also the bigger fear, which is, what if I never get where I want to be? That's a big one. Rejection, you got to take with a grain of salt, because most of the no's are because they can't say yes. So it isn't you. You have to work within the system that exists. And I take you through those steps. Just write to me if you need me and I'll answer them. But rejection, what are you going to do? It's part of it. And it's a very hefty part of it. And then even once you're published, people just take shots. That's part of it.
I lied. I'm going to ask you one more question. I was asked to ask you this because I think they don't want to do it in person. They want to know the brand and color of your lipstick. They said it's amazing.
Okay. I think I need to do it. I keep my makeup in here. I'm just going to show you. So I spend a lot of time. You can, okay, first of all, you know, I have the Origin Project, and Jen D'Angelo out of Connecticut created lipsticks that I love. And you can go to kisscarlonow.com. If that doesn't float your boat, go to the drugstore. Now, I have a running gag with the late Dorothea Benton Frank and lipsticks. Now, I basically do this. There's 3 steps to how I do this. First, you have to exfoliate and moisturize your lips. Then you have to learn how to use a pencil, which is the easiest thing in the world. If you can't draw, I'm going to show you. If you can draw this, you can do your lips. Can you see that? It's like when you drew birds when you were little. So you're never going to draw a line like that. You're going to make small lines and put a small line down here. Then you smudge it. That gives you that look. Then you use your lipstick. A lot of people do this with their lipsticks. I don't do it like that. I do it like this. I had it on. This one's lighter. This is not going to work. I tried to show you. Anyway, pat it on the bottom lip. Then, it's the wrong color, but I'll get there. Then you take the pencil. I mean, I'm doing it. I don't have to do the tape. Then you do this. Do the V, like where your Cupid's bow is. And don't say, oh, my lips are thin. I don't want to hear that. You can make your lips thick. So just do this. Can you see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Then a line here. Just a little straight line. And then here. And then connect them. You don't have to be an artist. Right? And then you connect them. I'm at the point now. Makes the color last. 2 o'clock this morning, I'll have this lipstick on. Then you blot it, and then you do it again. Then when you're done, just do this. This is your best tool. Just do this. And I'm done. And then I work it in. So even, okay, so I did a different color right there. But because of this pencil, it came off as the same thing. Because it's the pencil color you're really seeing. Did that help?
What color is the pencil?
Oh, here we go. Okay. MAC. Heroine. Not like drug, but heroin like of the movie. I have Sarah Happ. She's a good gloss. Go to the drugstore, Maybelline. Hold on. This is Maybelline. Matte, blissful. Darker, I have them all. I have so many. But then, listen, I play with pencils too, like I was at Target and I got, this is called Magenta, and it's by a company called, well, it's too late. Oh, no, it's also MAC. I'm sorry, it's not, that's not Target. I'm gonna pull a Target so that you can, oh, this is a good one. This is, oh, that's Christian Dior. That's not it either. You see how I keep them till they're a nub. Hold on, it's important. Oh, hang on, don't anybody go anywhere. I must have moved it. Oh, okay, here it is. This is one I got at Target. L'Oreal. And you know, once you start doing this, it's easy. L'Oreal. So L'Oreal Maybelline CoverGirl, you know, like when you're at Target. But get the right colors. You want the magentas or the thing if you want this color. If you like a sandy color, there's days I do a sandy color. Are you dying laughing here, Vicky? Vicky's like, what are we doing? How did this devolve from an intellectual conversation to this? What's important? You can take a neutral pencil like a MAC pencil. I'm just showing you. Now I'm starting to look like Mrs. Wiggins on the Carol Burnett show. Okay. You just keep doing it and keep practicing.
Awesome. 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 Thank you so much again.
That's a tremendous compliment.
Well, they loved it. And thank you everyone that signed on tonight. And I'm glad you were able to join us. This was really a lot of fun in the middle of a pandemic to have someone make us smile. Continue writing. Can't wait for your new book and try to get them to make The Shoemaker's Wife into a miniseries.
I'm working on it.
Because we love that book.
It'd be
and
great.
Thank you so much, everyone. And
Thank you.
We will be back with more of these lovely author visits as time goes on. Thank you so much.
See you in
Bye-bye.
person soon. Bye,
yes,
everybody.
that'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.